Aita for poisoning my roommate after he kept stealing my food. So I, F25, live with my roommate M27. I originally lived alone, but due to some financial difficulties, I invited him to live with me. Well, to be specific, one of my friends told me about him when I told everyone I was searching for a roommate. He was fine at first. He didn't smoke and didn't do drugs, so I let him live with me. He pays half of the rent and utilities. But we've had some serious issues lately. I work full-time late into the night, so I cook for myself before leaving for work. It was all good for a few months, until recently. Whenever I came home, I noticed that my food was missing. I'd ask him about it, and he would deny it, over and over again. Every single time. I even started to label everything I made with my name, but my food still kept disappearing. Why pissed me off? Now, for some additional context, I'm not even a huge fan of nuts. I don't crave them, I don't eat them much at all, but my roommate is severely allergic. He told me when he came to live with me that he cannot consume anything with nuts, so I've avoided nuts in our shared space completely for the sake of his allergy. But after weeks of my food going missing and him always denying it, I just snapped. The thing is, literally no one lives here other than me and him, and he doesn't really have a lot of friends that I do not know, since he joined my friend group after moving here. I know for a fact that he doesn't have anyone staying over, so it was him. Plus, I even caught him eating my food a few times, so that just shows that he's a sly pig. I remember preparing some cooked ribs for myself to reheat after I returned home from work. It was going to be an especially tiring day, so as usual I labeled the container with the ribs and left for work. I sent him a message telling him not to eat it, with a picture of the container. However, alas, the food was gone. At this point, I was so pissed that I decided that I was going to mess with him. I went out of my way to buy almond powder and put it in my trap meal of mac and cheese. I gave this guy a chance to spare his life. I told him not to eat it. I even made sure to tell him, "Hey, that mac and cheese is mine. Don't touch it." I even sent a message with a picture of it as usual. I was being extra clear, and just to make sure everything went according to plan, I secretly set up a camera to record the kitchen. Later that night, I came back and saw that he'd eaten the entire batch. That pig was so fucking inconsiderate that he just left the reheated container on the table. I decided to take the camera with me, and decided to head out to a bar. If he hadn't eaten the mac and cheese, I would have stayed home and binged Netflix, but he ate it, so I might as well enjoy myself while he struggles with his allergy. So, as expected, a few hours later, I found out he was in the hospital with an allergic reaction. His mom used his phone to call me, being furious. She was screaming at me, accusing me of being a monster and poisoning her son by feeding him nuts. I told her that it was food not meant for him, and sent her proof. I told her to read the messages I sent him, which show the container and my reminder that he shouldn't eat it. However, his mom started berating me for being careless, asking why I would have something that he can't eat. I just responded that I told him not to eat the mac and cheese and even labeled it. I got pissed and screamed into the phone that if he can't respect that and he keeps taking my food, then I don't know what else to do. I told her that I've been very clear about this for months, and that he keeps on stealing my food and denying it. She then started bullshitting, asking me if I even cared about him. I told her I didn't, because I've repeatedly told him not to steal my food. I told her that he denied it every time, and would still eat it even if I specifically messaged him not to eat it and label the container. I even told her I had video evidence of the whole thing. She didn't want to hear it and started crying, but honestly, I didn't feel guilty at all. I felt like this was the only way he'd learn. I tried conversations, messages, and everything else I could think of, but he just can't cook for himself. How is it my fault? It's not like I put it in his food. It was mine. But everyone is calling me a psycho, but I don't get why I'm the bad guy. I specifically told him not to eat the food. His family clearly raised him to think it was okay to take things that weren't his, and now I'm the one being vilified. But at the same time, I know that he's kind of broke, and he can't afford hospital bills right now, so I do feel guilty about that. So Aita? Or was I justified in teaching him a lesson about respecting my food? Edit. A lot of people are saying that I could get into legal issues or something for putting nuts into the food. The thing is, I made him sign a roommate agreement when we decided to live together, where I specified that food is something we will not share, including cost, and our groceries and food should not be touched by the other person. I added this because he tends to eat a lot of unhealthier foods, such as delivery, while I tend to make my own food to save money. Also, to clarify, I did not consume nuts only because I was considering his allergy. When we started living together, he literally said that I could eat them if I wanted to, but I just didn't because I didn't really need to and I wanted to be considerate. Edit 2. I would respond in the comments, but there's too many. I learned that his allergy isn't that severe. I was discussing this with my friends, and one guy literally mentioned that the dude took a bite of a granola bar with nuts in it once and just used an EpiPen. In fact, apparently it's not life-threatening if he doesn't eat it in high dosages. I sprinkled a tiny bit because I was going to eat the mac and cheese myself later if it was there. I checked with my neighbors, and they literally said that his mom, they think it's his mom at least, picked him up and drove him to the hospital. It wasn't like an ambulance was called. He's literally okay, and he's texting his friends right now. His mom wants me to pay for the hospitalization though, and I'll revisit that later. So for all the comments saying I attempted murder, no I didn't. I'm very thankful that he isn't severely allergic. He hasn't messaged me yet. I sent him a message asking if he was okay. Story 2. My husband wants a divorce because I was talking to my coworker. My husband 30M wants a divorce. I'm 30F because I was talking to my coworker. What do I do? So today my husband 30M called me as we were talking. My coworker calls me. I said, "Oh, Rose is calling," not her name. He said, "Oh, just call me back." I told him no, just stay on the line, it will be quick. I answered her, she was asking me if I needed help and then tells me about how X and X is doing this from work. I replied back, "Oh yeah, X told me he's mad at X for this." Well, I didn't know the call had ended, so he heard that part. I saw the call had dropped and said, "Oops, I thought I was still talking to Rose." He's obviously mad and says no and hangs up. I called Rose back to just finish our call. He then calls me 2 times. Well, I'm on the line. This call took less than 2 minutes. I texted, "I call you right back." His answer, "You're fucking ridiculous." So I called him back. When he answers, he says, "What do you want?" I'm like, "You called me to talk, so it." He gets mad and says, "Oh yeah, well fuck you." He texted me 5 minutes later with, and this is the copied text, "I just want you to know that we're basically done. Like I said last time, we can go our separate ways. I'm not arguing with you anymore about anything. You can go do whatever you want with whoever you want." My reply, "LMAO, I don't care honestly. I told you I was talking to Rose, her call disconnected. You could have kept talking. Instead you act like a man-child because you didn't get my attention for 5 seconds. Grow up. Already fucking pathetic how you're 30 acting like a toddler who needs constant reassurance. Fix yourself, get some therapy, because you're mentally unwell." The thing is, I'm tired of his bullshit. He does this all the time. Anything I do he always complains about. Example of, I wear makeup to work, I must be doing for someone at work. If I have my hair done, I must be trying to impress someone. Little things like this. I work a blue-collar job, so you're mostly men, and yes, we have to communicate with one another to help each other. He gets mad because why are they calling you? What do they need? Especially on the days I call in, and someone calls to ask me for something, he blows up. Lately he's been saying things like, "My gut feeling says you're doing something else." Or "You must have someone else." Just shit like that, so I'm just done with it, and my responses are exactly that. I cannot continue dealing with him being insecure in our relationship. What do I do? How do we fix this? We've been married almost 10 years now. Edit, people keep saying there isn't any respect, and yeah, you guys are right, there isn't. He calls me everything in the book. Laughs about me being SA. Hits me because in his words, it's the only way I get your attention. He's been a SAHD for 3 years, and at that he's always mad, complaining about the kids coming downstairs. I would work and still have to come home and clean because he just wouldn't do it. It took me 2 years of the 3 he's been a SAHD to get him to help me with the cleaning. He talks about women like the red side does. We are nothing but whores and bitches. He hates his mother and sisters and calls them gold diggers, which they are, so of course all women are. I've asked him, "Do you even like women then?" The way he acts is just immature. He gets mad, hits things or me. Anytime I gift him something, he's selling it so he can buy his liquor for the night. He drinks every night, and when I tell him to stop, he says he doesn't have to because there's nothing wrong with getting drunk every night. So yeah, it's hard to respect someone who gives and shows you zero respect.